Berwanger. In 1936, the NFL held its first ever draft. With the very first pick in league history, the Philadelphia Eagles selected a halfback out of the University of Chicago, Berwanger, nicknamed the One-Man Gang. But what looked like a groundbreaking start for professional football ended up becoming a strange historical footnote. Berwanger never played a single down in the NFL. Shortly after the Eagles drafted him, they realized they couldn't afford to sign him. They traded his rights to George Halas and the Chicago Bears. Halas offered Berwanger a contract worth $13,500 for 2 years. A decent sum for the time, but Berwanger wanted more. The two sides never agreed, and Berwanger simply walked away. Instead of chasing glory on the field, Berwanger pursued a career off it. He went into business, later serving as a Navy pilot in World War II and becoming a successful manufacturer. His story set the tone for the early years of the NFL, when professional football was considered less stable and less prestigious than a career in business or law. Berwanger's decision remains legendary. The very first NFL draft pick, the first player ever offered an NFL contract, and the first to turn it down. His case is a reminder that in the 1930s, the NFL was not yet the dream destination for top athletes. Berwanger's name lives on as a trivia answer, the man who went number 1, and then vanished. Ernie Davis. Fast forward to 1962. The Washington Redskins held the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, and they chose Syracuse running back Ernie Davis, a Heisman Trophy winner and the first black player ever to win that award. Washington quickly traded his rights to the Cleveland Browns, pairing him with the legendary Jim Brown. It was supposed to be the birth of a dynasty, but Davis never got to play. During training camp physicals in 1962, team doctors discovered something alarming. Davis was diagnosed with acute monocytic leukemia. Despite the shocking news, he remained on Cleveland's roster, even suiting up for practices, though he never took the field in an official game. On May 18, 1963, just 1 year after being drafted, Ernie Davis passed away at only 23 years old. His loss shook the NFL and left fans wondering what could have been. Many believed Davis had the speed and strength to follow in Jim Brown's footsteps and become one of the all-time greats. Even without playing a snap, Davis left an enduring mark on football history. His jersey number 45 was retired by the Browns, and his story inspired books and the film The Express. Leon Bender. In the 1998 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders believed they had secured a cornerstone for their defense. With the 48th overall pick in the second round, they selected Leon Bender, a powerful defensive tackle from Washington State. At 6'5" and nearly 300 pounds, Bender had been a driving force in leading the Cougars to the Rose Bowl, and scouts praised his size, strength, and relentless play. But before he could even sign his rookie contract, tragedy struck. On May 30th, 1998, just weeks after hearing his name called on draft day, Leon Bender was found dead at the home of his agent in Atlanta. He was only 22 years old. The cause was later confirmed as an epileptic seizure, a condition he had quietly battled throughout his playing career. The Raiders, stunned and heartbroken, never saw their promising draft pick take the field. Coaches and teammates remembered him as a gentle giant with limitless potential, a player who had the talent and drive to make an immediate impact in the league. His sudden passing left a void not only in Oakland's plans, but across the entire football community. By the way, I'm going to be posting a lot more interesting videos on the channel. I'll greatly appreciate it if you could show support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you. Brandon Burlsworth. In 1999, the Indianapolis Colts believed they had found a cornerstone for their offensive line when they selected Brandon Burlsworth in the 3rd round of the NFL Draft. Burlsworth had been a walk-on at Arkansas, a player who transformed himself through discipline and relentless work into a first-team All-American guard. Coaches and scouts praised his toughness, leadership, and preparation, and many projected him as a future starter for Peyton Manning's protection. But only 11 days after hearing his name called on draft day, tragedy struck. On April 28, 1999, while driving home to Harrison, Arkansas after a workout, Burlsworth's vehicle clipped another car, swerved back into his lane, and collided head-on with a tractor trailer. The crash was fatal, and at just 22 years old, his life and career were cut short before he could play a single NFL game. The Colts never got to see him take the field, but his legacy did not disappear. His story became one of perseverance and inspiration, remembered not only by Arkansas fans, but across the football community. In his honor, the Burlsworth Trophy was created, awarded each year to the most outstanding college football player who began his career as a walk-on, Leland Melvin. In 1986, the Detroit Lions selected wide receiver Leland Melvin in the 11th round of the NFL Draft. He had been a standout at the University of Richmond, using his speed and athleticism to catch the attention of professional scouts. For Melvin, the draft was supposed to be the gateway to his football dreams. But during training camp, everything changed. Melvin suffered a series of hamstring injuries that made it impossible for him to compete at the professional level. Each comeback attempt ended the same way. Another tear, another setback, and mounting frustration. In the end, he never played a single NFL game. His football career was over before it ever began. Most athletes would have walked away defeated. Melvin chose a different path. He turned his focus toward education, earning degrees in chemistry and materials science. That determination eventually carried him into one of the most selective organizations in the world, NASA. Melvin became a NASA astronaut, flying on 2 missions aboard the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Over the course of those missions, he logged more than 565 hours in space, orbiting Earth at over 17,000 miles per hour. From an NFL hopeful sidelined by injury to an astronaut looking down on the planet from orbit, Leland Melvin's story proves that sometimes the end of one dream can launch the beginning of something far greater. Christian Hackenberg's story is one of the most baffling quarterback tales in modern NFL history. Drafted in the 2nd round of the 2016 NFL Draft, 51st overall by the New York Jets, Hackenberg arrived with the weight of expectation. At Penn State, he had once been considered a future star after a record-setting freshman season under head coach Bill O'Brien. But after O'Brien left for the NFL, Hackenberg's play declined under a new system, raising concerns about his mechanics and accuracy. Despite those warning signs, the Jets believed they had found their quarterback of the future. Hackenberg spent 2 full seasons with the team, but never appeared in a single regular season game. He was unable to surpass Ryan Fitzpatrick, Josh McCown, or Bryce Petty on the depth chart. Reports from practices were discouraging, with issues of poor footwork, erratic accuracy, and difficulty adjusting to the speed of the professional game. In 2018, the Jets traded him to the Oakland Raiders for a conditional 7th-round pick, but he was released just 3 weeks later without playing a snap. Brief stints with the Philadelphia Eagles and Cincinnati Bengals followed, yet he never managed to make it past preseason rosters. His NFL career ended with 0 regular season appearances, an outcome almost unthinkable for a 2nd-round pick. Hackenberg attempted a comeback in the Alliance of American Football with the Memphis Express in 2019, but he struggled there as well and was eventually benched. Later, he tried to reinvent himself as a professional baseball pitcher, but that attempt ended quietly. Senquez Golson. In the 2015 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers believed they had found a future star in Senquez Golson. Taken in the 2nd round with the 56th overall pick, Golson was a standout cornerback from Ole Miss, known for his speed, instincts, and ball-hawking ability. His senior season in college included 10 interceptions, making him one of the most dangerous defenders in the SEC. Pittsburgh hoped his playmaking would transform their secondary, but Golson's professional career never began the way fans expected. In his very first training camp, he suffered a torn labrum in his shoulder. The injury required surgery and ended his rookie season before he could step on the field. The Steelers were patient, confident that he would return and live up to the expectations placed on a high draft pick. When the 2016 season arrived, misfortune struck again. Golson injured his foot during training camp, suffering a Lisfranc injury that once again kept him out for the entire year. For the 2nd straight season, he never played a single snap. The setbacks began to define his time in the NFL. By 2017, Golson tried once more to fight for a roster spot. Instead, hamstring injuries derailed his progress in camp, and the Steelers released him before the season began. He later had short stints with other teams, but he never appeared in a regular season game. Dan Bazuin. In 2007, the Chicago Bears used their 2nd-round pick, number 62 overall, to draft Dan Bazuin, a defensive end from Central Michigan. Bazuin had built a reputation in college as one of the most dominant defensive players in the Mid-American Conference. He left Central Michigan as the school's all-time leader in sacks and tackles for loss, and his relentless motor made him a prized prospect heading into the NFL. But his professional career ended before it ever truly began. During his rookie training camp, Bazuin suffered a devastating knee injury. He underwent surgery, but the recovery process was rocky. The Bears placed him on injured reserve. holding out hope that he would return the following season. Instead, his knee required additional operations, stripping away the quickness and explosiveness that had made him a standout in college. By the summer of 2008, Chicago decided to move on and released him without ever having played a regular season snap. The Houston Texans later gave him a brief opportunity, but Bazuin's body could not hold up under the demands of the NFL. What had looked like the start of a promising career ended with 0 games played. Paul Toviessi. In the 2001 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos used their second-round pick, number 51 overall, to select defensive end Paul Toviessi out of Marshall University. He was seen as a raw but promising talent with the size and athleticism to make an immediate impact on the defensive line. For a team looking to strengthen its pass rush, Toviessi represented hope for the future. But before he could ever showcase that potential, disaster struck. During his very first training camp with Denver, Toviessi suffered a serious knee injury. The damage was severe enough to require surgery, and his rookie season was immediately lost. What followed was a relentless cycle. Within less than a year, Toviessi underwent 3 separate knee surgeries, each attempt at recovery cutting deeper into his dream of playing in the NFL. Despite his determination, the explosiveness that once made him a second-round pick was gone. Coaches who had expected him to grow into a starter quickly realized his body would not hold up to the demands of professional football. By the summer of 2002, the Broncos made the difficult decision to release him. Toviessi never played a single snap in a regular season game. Cody Brown entered the NFL in 2009 as the 63rd overall pick in the second round by the Arizona Cardinals. Coming out of UConn, he was known for his speed off the edge and his ability to pressure quarterbacks. Arizona, fresh from a Super Bowl run, saw him as a young defensive piece who could elevate their pass rush, but his career never had a chance to begin. During a preseason game against the San Diego Chargers, Brown dislocated his left wrist. The injury required surgery and immediately ended his rookie season before he ever stepped on the field in a regular season game. By the time the 2010 season arrived, the Cardinals had moved on. Brown struggled to regain the form that made him a coveted draft pick, and the team released him before he played a single snap. He later had brief stints with the New York Jets and eventually the CFL, but he never managed to secure a lasting role in professional football. In the end, Cody Brown's story became one of lost potential. A second-round draft pick, wiped away by a single preseason injury. Michael Sam. In 2014, the St. Louis Rams made history in the 7th round of the NFL Draft. With the 249th overall pick, they selected Michael Sam, a standout defensive end from the University of Missouri and the SEC Co-Defensive Player of the Year. His selection was groundbreaking because months earlier he had come out publicly as gay, making him the first openly gay player ever drafted into the NFL. The spotlight on Sam was immense. Training camp practices drew national media attention, and every rep was scrutinized. On the field, he showed flashes of promise during the preseason, recording 11 tackles and 3 sacks across 4 games. But the Rams had one of the deepest defensive lines in the league, and Sam was released during final roster cuts. He was picked up by the Dallas Cowboys, but only on their practice squad. Despite the opportunity, he never saw the field in a regular season NFL game. In 2015, Sam signed with the Montreal Alouettes of the Canadian Football League, becoming the first openly gay player in the CFL. His time there was short-lived, and by August of that year, he stepped away from professional football entirely, citing personal reasons. Michael Sam's NFL career ended before it truly began. He never played a regular season snap, yet his story remains larger than statistics. His draft day represented a moment of progress in sports history, and his journey left behind a question that still resonates. Was he evaluated only by his performance, or did the weight of being a pioneer shape his path differently? Tyler Wilson entered the 2013 NFL Draft with a reputation as one of the toughest quarterbacks in college football. At Arkansas, he had set school records for passing yards and completions, proving himself in the brutal SEC and earning early buzz as a possible first-round pick. By draft day, his stock had fallen, but the Oakland Raiders still invested a 4th-round pick, selecting him 112th overall with hopes he could develop into their future leader under center. However, Wilson's transition to the NFL unraveled almost immediately. During rookie minicamp and training camp, he struggled with accuracy, decision-making, and adapting to the speed of the professional game. Reports from within the organization painted a picture of a quarterback who lacked confidence and failed to command the huddle. Before the 2013 season even began, the Raiders made the surprising move to release him, a rare fate for a 4th-round pick in his very first year. After clearing waivers, Wilson was re-signed to the Raiders practice squad, but his stay was short-lived. He moved briefly to the Tennessee Titans practice squad and later signed with the Cincinnati Bengals in 2014, but he never rose above backup status. By the end of the 2014 preseason, he was released again, closing the book on his NFL career without ever appearing in a regular season game. Harvey Unga was one of the brightest stars in college football. At BYU, he became the program's all-time leading rusher, finishing with 3,455 rushing yards and 36 touchdowns across 3 seasons. His size, power, and consistency made him a reliable workhorse and a fan favorite in Provo. In 2010, after leaving BYU, Unga entered the NFL supplemental draft. The Chicago Bears used a 7th-round pick to select him, sacrificing their 2011 7th-round choice in the process. For the Bears, it looked like a low-risk gamble on a proven college star. For Unga, it was supposed to be the start of a promising NFL career, but that promise never materialized. Unga spent his rookie season on the reserve and practice squad lists, sidelined by injuries and unable to crack the active roster. Each year, the story repeated itself. He returned for training camps, fought for a roster spot, and often ended up on the practice squad. In 2012, he was briefly elevated to the active roster, but he never appeared in a single regular season game. By 2014, the Bears released him, and Unga's NFL journey came to a quiet end. Despite his record-setting college career, he left the league without logging a single carry on Sundays. Kenny Irons was drafted in the 2nd round of the 2007 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals, a pick filled with high expectations. At Auburn, he had rushed for over 1,200 yards in 2005, earning a reputation as one of the most explosive running backs in the SEC. The Bengals believed his speed and toughness would immediately boost their offense. But his NFL journey ended before it ever truly began. In his very first preseason game against the Detroit Lions, Irons tore the ACL in his left knee. The injury ended his rookie season instantly. The Bengals hoped he could return, but complications from reconstructive surgery kept him off the field in 2008 as well. By 2009, Irons had failed another team physical, and Cincinnati made the difficult decision to release him. In the end, he never played a single regular season snap in the NFL. Moritz Böhringer. In 2016, the Minnesota Vikings shocked the football world when they drafted Moritz Böhringer in the 6th round, making him the first player ever selected straight out of Europe without playing a single down of college football in the United States. Böhringer's story was unlike anything the NFL had ever seen. Born in Stuttgart, Germany, he discovered the sport by watching YouTube highlights of Adrian Peterson. Inspired, he joined the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns of the German Football League, where his size, speed, and athleticism quickly turned heads. At 6'4" and over 200 pounds, he posted a blazing 4.4-second 40-yard dash at his pro day, convincing scouts he could be a diamond in the rough. The Vikings took the gamble, believing they had found a global success story, but the jump from Germany's semi-professional fields to the NFL proved too steep. Böhringer struggled with mastering complex playbooks, refining his route running, and adjusting to the speed of American football. He never appeared in a regular season game, spending time only on practice squads with the Vikings and later the Cincinnati Bengals. Though his NFL dream ended quietly, Böhringer's journey still made history. He returned to Europe to continue his career, forever remembered as the German prospect who turned YouTube highlights into an NFL draft selection. Lache Seastrunk. In the 2014 NFL Draft, Washington used a 6th-round pick, number 186 overall, on Baylor running back Lache Seastrunk. He was one of college football's most explosive players, rushing for over 2,100 yards across 2 seasons and dazzling scouts with his speed and agility. Many believed he could be a hidden gem waiting to shine on Sundays, but his NFL career ended before it even began. Seastrunk was waived at the end of his rookie preseason and never made Washington's active roster. From there, he went on a desperate search for opportunity. He spent a week on the Panthers practice squad, joined the Titans practice squad later that year, and had short stints with the Cowboys and Jets. Despite these chances, he never appeared in a single NFL regular season game. The gap between his college dominance and his NFL struggles raised questions. At Baylor, Seastrunk had the highlight reel runs that made him a household name in the Big 12. But in the pros, concerns about his vision, pass-catching ability, and fit in NFL offenses kept him from sticking. Coaches saw flashes of talent, but not enough consistency to hold a roster spot. By 2016, Seastrunk was out of the league. later trying his luck in the CFL and other minor football leagues. Chad Jones. In the 2010 NFL Draft, the New York Giants selected Chad Jones in the 3rd round. He was not just a football prospect, he was a two-sport standout. At LSU, Jones had been a hard-hitting safety who helped the Tigers win the 2007 BCS National Championship, and he was also a left-handed pitcher who played a key role in LSU's 2009 College World Series title. With that kind of resume, the Giants believed they had drafted a rare athlete destined for greatness. But only 2 months after draft day, tragedy struck. On June 25, 2010, in New Orleans, Jones lost control of his SUV and crashed into a streetcar pole. The impact left his left leg shattered, with broken tibia and fibula, severed arteries, and extensive nerve damage. Doctors had to perform emergency surgery just to save the leg from amputation. Overnight, his NFL career was thrown into doubt before it had even started. Jones fought through years of grueling rehabilitation. He worked tirelessly to regain strength and mobility, holding on to the hope of returning to football. But in 2012, the Giants released him after he failed a physical, ending his NFL journey without ever playing a snap. Refusing to give up on sports, Jones later turned his attention back to baseball, and in 2013, the Cincinnati Reds drafted him. Yet the lingering effects of his injuries made it impossible to reach the professional level he once seemed destined to achieve. Michael Burrow entered the NFL in 2000 as a second-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings, coming out of the University of Miami with the kind of size and raw power that coaches believed could anchor their defensive line. At 6'4" and nearly 300 pounds, he was expected to develop into a starter for one of the NFC's top franchises. But his professional career never had the chance to take off. Almost immediately, Burrow was slowed by a string of injuries, including knee and hand issues, that kept him from showing the flashes of dominance that earned him a high draft grade. Off the field, he was also diagnosed with ocular myasthenia gravis, a rare neuromuscular disorder that further limited his ability to play at the highest level. The Vikings held onto him for 2 seasons, waiting to see if his health would improve, but he never suited up for a single regular season game. By February 2002, the team released him, bringing his NFL journey to an end before it had truly begun. Jimmy Oliver. In 1995, the San Diego Chargers used their second-round pick, 61st overall, on Jimmy Oliver, a wide receiver from Texas Christian University. Oliver had built a reputation in college as a speedy and versatile playmaker who could stretch the field and contribute on special teams. The Chargers believed they had found a future difference maker. But Oliver's NFL career ended before it ever really began. He never appeared in a regular season game for San Diego. Injuries and roster competition kept him from carving out a role, and within a short span, he was gone from the NFL picture. A promising draft pick had quietly slipped through the cracks. Oliver did not give up on football. Instead, he headed north to the Canadian Football League. He joined the BC Lions in 1999 and later played for the Ottawa Renegades and Toronto Argonauts. Over the course of 5 seasons, he caught 141 passes, gained more than 2,100 receiving yards, and scored 10 touchdowns. His best year came in 2002 with Ottawa, when he recorded 82 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns, proving he could be a reliable target in the professional game. Eddie Blake. In 1992, the Miami Dolphins used their second-round pick, 43rd overall, on Eddie Blake, a massive guard from Auburn who had earned the nickname Earthquake for his power on the offensive line. At 6'3" and nearly 330 pounds, he was expected to bring size and strength to a Miami team in desperate need of protection up front. But Blake's NFL career ended before it could ever begin. Shortly after the draft, he fractured a bone in his foot during a weightlifting accident, and that setback kept him off the field for months. As he attempted to recover, he tore the medial collateral ligament in his knee, forcing the Dolphins to place him on the physically unable to perform list for the entire 1992 season. By the following year, hopes of a comeback were slim. Blake reported to camp overweight and still struggling with his injuries. Miami eventually released him without ever seeing him play a single snap in a regular season game. Later, he attempted short stints with Green Bay, Winnipeg in the Canadian Football League, and in the Arena Football League, but his body never returned to the dominant form that made him a star at Auburn. Shane Hanna. In 1995, the Dallas Cowboys were riding high as a dynasty and searching for young talent to extend their reign. With the 63rd overall pick in the second round, they drafted Shane Hanna, a massive offensive guard from Michigan State. At 6'4" and over 310 pounds, Hanna was praised for his raw strength and toughness. Many believed he could anchor the Cowboys' line for years to come. But before he could even make his NFL debut, disaster struck. During his very first training camp, Hanna tore the anterior cruciate ligament in his knee. In the mid-1990s, ACL injuries were often career-ending setbacks, and his rookie season ended before it began. He spent the year on injured reserve, watching from the sidelines as Dallas pushed forward without him. Hanna attempted a comeback, working through rehab and conditioning programs to regain his form. The Cowboys gave him opportunities, but he struggled with weight control and never regained the explosiveness that once made him a high draft pick. In 1996, Dallas released him. A short-lived stint with the New York Jets followed, but he never appeared in a single regular season game. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be posting a lot more interesting videos on the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Thank you very much.